Good evening, good night, hello, and welcome to Mindful Live. I am Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is currently 10:38 p.m. on the 22nd of August in the year of our Lord 2025 CE, current era. What a time to be alive. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button out there. Hit that like over on YouTube to make sure the algorithm feels your presence. Hey, good stuff. Allow the algorithm to know it's good stuff. Hit that like button, make sure you're following, make sure you're subscribed over there on YouTube. Drop a comment if you have something to say. The comments really do help the algorithm too, and you know, I read them all. I do read them. So, earlier, they're playing games in the Caribbean Sea. Games that I don't like. Games that could get people mixed up in life and death situations now. Rowley, US Venezuela tension testing Trinidad and Tobago government. Former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says the population is waiting to see what will be the government's response as U.S. warships, greetings sir, U.S. warships are deployed off the coast of Venezuela reportedly as part of a major counter-narcotics operation. In a Facebook post on August 22nd, Rowley said, as the U.S. Armada sails in our direction, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is being tested here. TT holds the national security portfolio in CARICOM's quasi-cabinet. Rowley said, we hope that, given our nation and CARICOM's commitment to our region being defended as a zone of peace, that our leaders will not be found wanting. He claimed while the UNC was in opposition, they actively and consistently undermined the TT CARICOM diplomatic initiatives to stave off regime change through force. The UNC, Rowley continued, condemned our approach to the United Nations, where we led the charge for multilateralism and the respect for the UN Charter. He said they dismissed our diplomatic initiatives with Mexico, Norway, South Africa, the African Union, and Uruguay. Rowley added they openly supported the implementing of President Guaido by US, Canada, and Europe. He recalled the UNC called on the US to impose sanctions on TT, former Energy Minister Stuart Young, and himself with respect to efforts to negotiate TT Venezuela energy agreements. Rowley said recently in government, they proclaimed their full support for the policies and programs being promulgated and advanced in Washington. Rowley described the deployment of US warships off Venezuela as an adventurous military excursion into CARICOM's zone of peace and the latest of that suite of policies. He said, now that the chickens are coming home to roost, the question for the people of TT is whether it is better to follow unpatriotic former opposition folly or maintain sovereignty and diplomatic self-interest in government. Rowley added, we await to see if our government has pip or if they have a functioning tongue. The U.S. Navy destroyers Gravely, Jason Dunham, and Samson are heading to the southern Caribbean with thousands of Marines aboard. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has responded to this development by activating members of the Bolivarian National Militia. Yeah. So, would the support that our government seemingly gave to the present US administration, would that support continue? Because we have an opportunity here for the support to be in more than just words. If US warships, destroyers, are functioning off our coast, would we give them docking ability? Would we form part of their exercise, whatever their exercise might be? And Dr. Rowley is talking about tongue and pip there. If Dr. Rowley was in governance, was in power, would he have told the US no? Do you think that the USA soldiers can just enter their country like forcefully? Which country? Venezuela? They can, but it's what would happen afterwards. But if Dr. Rowley was in power right now, if the PNM was still in power, would the PNM have told the United States, no, we're not giving you all safe haven, we refuse to allow you to enter our waters? Would we have done that? Abdul says, I believe I would have told them no. You may have told them no, but you wouldn't be in governance. The soft power that the US has and can exercise on us is enormous already. I don't think Dr. Rowley would have told them no either. And I think Dr. Rowley is playing a bit of politics here too. Rowley would have told them no, he maintained neutrality. I don't think he would have told them no. I think he would have lodged his disapproval, and he may have lodged some complaints about their strategy, but he would have ensured that as a faithful ally we are there to serve. Now, that being the case, maybe words could be all it needs, because as we see in the whole Palestine, Gaza, Israel, and the whole Ukraine-Russia conflict, a lot of modern conflicts are fought publicly through social media also. Even if we are, as it were, forced because of our position to aid the US in what they're doing. Maybe if our leaders were vocally opposing it, that would have given us something to still make a deal off of with Venezuela, as it were. We aren't really in this, we're just in an unfortunate position. But if our leaders are vocally in support of the move, because remember, our present Prime Minister called the Venezuelan president a drug dealer. Why he a faithful ally? What does it benefit us in the case of war? Well, it benefits us because we get a lot of money from the United States. That's the long and short of it. It benefits us because we do a lot of trade with US dollars. It benefits us because we use a lot of US technology, US opportunities in order to access the global market. That's how it benefits us. It benefits us because we do not want to be on the side of Iran, China, and Venezuela, on the outside of where the milk and honey is flowing in the Western capitalist markets. That's the benefit. But in war, it won't benefit us. We will become a legitimate target. What I'm saying here is, if the US wants to, as it were, insist on this, are you going to ally with Venezuela, or are you going to ally with the US? Or are you going to cut your ally? Because even if you say we aren't going with anybody, we're staying neutral, then that is going with somebody that's, as it were, going against the US. I'm not sure we want to do that. But there are people complaining. There are people complaining. Venezuela, China, and Alba condemn US naval action as this country's government remains silent on the impending naval presence, US naval presence in the waters of the coast of Venezuela. The Venezuelan government is pledging a peaceful approach to this developing situation. In a statement yesterday, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela said, while Washington threatens, Venezuela advances firmly in peace and sovereignty, demonstrating that that true effectiveness against crime is achieved by respecting the independence of peoples. However, Venezuela argues that this perceived threat from the US jeopardizes the peace and stability of the entire region. Then how many lives are we willing to sacrifice for being a faithful ally? You know, it is possible to be in a position where you would sacrifice lives on one side or the other. There are many positions where you cannot be neutral. It's just not possible. If you lived in a village in the Middle East and your family is just there, your family existing there for the last 5,000 years would have been forced to either pick a side or die. That's the reality of life. It's the reality. The United States has deployed, the ships to Venezuela's coast. The vessels are reportedly carrying 4,500 US service members, including 2,200 Marines. The Trump administration says this is part of its campaign against Latin American drug cartels. Washington accuses President Nicolas Maduro and his allies of drug trafficking through the so-called Cartel of the Suns, recently doubling the reward for his capture to $50 million. What if the US is right? Whose side would you pick, Nathan? I would pick no side in narrative, and I would pick the US side in action. That's what I would be. If I was the leader of Trinidad, in narrative, in speak, in talk, I am choosing no side. If you ask me, I would love if this can all be patched up neutrally and without war. We are against any kinetic conflict. We are against violence. But in terms of in action, yes, I would have supported the US. And I think anybody saying otherwise is not being realistic. That's not really being realistic. We are not in the position to flex. Most of the Venezuelans I have spoken to and the interviews that I have seen in Trinidad, many of them are by and large anti-Maduro. Why what? Why aren't we in the position to flex? Because we are the proverbial cockroach in the foul party. What are we going to flex with? What Ras boy? Yeah, what are we going to flex with? That's the thing about those hyped up, a bit hyped up on the anti-US mantras. Like, okay, I get it. It would feel good to tell the Americans how they go from here, but we can't. At the end of the day, the reality is what the reality is. The warships, the destroyers that the US is sending to check for drugs, those ships are enough to conquer the entirety of the Caribbean by and large. The US could start, probably Cuba might give them a little trouble, but it could start from Trinidad and make their way up the entire Caribbean, conquering everything from a side with that fleet. This isn't about anti-US, it's about citizens' lives. No, I'm not talking, good night David Stafford, I'm not talking about wanting to go to war for America. I am talking about in terms of the rubber talk. That's what I mean in the anti-US. I said what I would suggest is, as silent as we are, if you have nothing good to stay silent. I don't have a problem with the silence. In my book, especially because I'm not too sure what they're going to say, I might even tell some of our journalists and reporters to ask them. For the next week or so, do ask them what they think. We don't want to know. Keep it in your brain. Whatever you think about the situation, who you think is a drug dealer, no, just keep it in your brain. Forget it. You don't say anything about that. Because I don't think we have a card to play in this game. So it makes no sense attempting to comment on the players in the game and drawing yourself in for undue trouble. It's still very easy for them to re-establish military bases here. Yes, it is. Keep the questions local, I agree. Question is, do we go against the US and embrace this? No, we do not, AP. No, we do not. That's what I was saying. It doesn't make sense. Listen, the administration done sell out and we know that. Sasa says, are you serious in regards to the warships conquering if they want to? I'm learning so much. That's crazy. Yes, I am. Four US destroyers will mash up every bit of regiment, every bit of reserve, anything from Trinidad all the way up Barbados, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Lucia, everything all the way up. It's not even a battle. The Marines on board wouldn't even have to come off of the ship. Just the ammunition that they have on board could pummel, and that's that. So we aren't really in a position to play the game. We don't have the cards to play in this game. So we shouldn't have too much comments to make. That's the way I see it. A man say Lavantil taking all of them. A destroyer park up in the Gulf, aim the artillery, and Lavantil was. Lavantil is on a hillside facing the Gulf as a beautiful target. Perfect. Just sitting right there. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Pay me enough and I can put up resistance on my own. Alright. If we only had the dome, yeah. But at some point the government will make a decision if to allow those ships to refuel and resupply. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. And the thing is though, Abdul, I think the Venezuelan regime understands the position that we are in. That's why I'm saying in rhetoric, in talk, stay out. Because if the US ships come to refuel here, but we aren't giving them moral support, as it were. We aren't giving them vocal support in the public arena. You could argue that we are doing as we have to do to survive, but it's not like we have much choice in it. And here's my question though. I started asking this question earlier. What if the US is right? What if really and truly the Venezuelan government is flooding the Caribbean with drugs? What if that is true? What if there's a foreign government that has a malicious role it's playing on the southern border of the Caribbean? Isn't Guyana a more favorable point for the US to refuel and restock? I don't think Guyana has the infrastructure quite yet. What if it's not true? Well, that's what most people are supposing. The not true is what most people are assuming, that it's nonsense and they're just there for the oil. So we already have that supposition. I am saying, what if it is true? What if it is? If that's true, then the culprit is the US. Why is that, boo? Why is that? And it's amusing that no one could engage even with the hypothetical. The US is just after oil resources. I understand that's what you believe. I am asking, if what they are saying is true, if there's a malicious governmental entity on our southern border that is intent on flooding the Caribbean with drugs in pursuit of profit. The United States is the largest consumer of dangerous narcotics. True. If it is true, that should augur well with the crime situation here. We need a wall and the doom. If it's true, majority of guns are from the US or made there, I don't know if that's necessarily true, especially in a country like Venezuela. Venezuela would get a lot of their guns from Russia, and Russia still makes guns. There are many other places that make guns. I'm asking if these wars have any biblical implications at all. You'd have to speak to your pastor about that. That's why they are trying to stop it. We is scared, Fred Laddell says. So why didn't they invade Mexico first if it's about drug cartels? Well, careful what you're saying if you're giving them ideas, because that was part of the idea. They said that they were attempting to get boots on the ground in Mexico, but I think they got a lot more pushback on that idea. If it is, okay, I am comatose. We should learn how to spell comatose before we use it. All right, comatose. Mexico cartels control the United States drug flow to a large degree. Still doesn't change the proposition I'm saying. If it is, would you be in favor? If it is the case that the drug and gun war that we've been battling for the last 2 decades have been in large part funded and pushed by a government in South America, would you be pro-American action? Imagine US and Venezuela refueling the ships in Trinidad while drinking. Yes, obviously, not pro-military invasion. Well, from what they're saying here, it's not an attempt at an invasion. It's the language of your colonizers, Einstein. Okay, Kawalwa. Speak your true language, brother. Latin America's cartels are connected. Yes, they are. But if it is, I don't know exactly the plan, but it seems like the suggestion is they're attempting to do more of a blockade idea. I don't think they're coming with 4 warships and less than 10,000 men for a ground invasion. I don't think it's for a ground invasion, but if it is for a blockade, this is about regime change. I don't doubt it. I believe you were talking about that. I also don't think it's coincidental that it happened after the meeting with the Russian president. I do not doubt that this was brought up inside of that meeting too, and some of the moves that are being made now have things to do with that. You see, here's how simple it could be. It could be that, remember, Maduro would need money to survive. The allegation is that he's making money through the drugs. If it is that the US has found out through Russia that actually Venezuela is struggling to sell any of their black market oil, they aren't getting any of those sales, all of their money is coming in through drug shipments and they're shipping it out through the Caribbean Sea, and the US sees an ability here to move in some of their armada, lock off that area, blockade the shipment route, and squeeze Maduro out of all of his finances and maybe cause change. That could easily be it. So that regime change, yes, but regime change through squeezing finances. Because maybe, who knows, things could be strange, but I don't think that they're planning a land invasion with that what they're sending. The CIA through the US military and other channels have been messing with Latin America for decades. Yes, they have been messing with everywhere, not just Latin America. They've been messing with Trinidad, they've been messing with the Caribbean, they've been messing with Africa, they've been messing with Asia. Here's the reality, and it's nothing strange, you know. It's nothing strange. It's what the Romans did to the people they call the barbarians back in the days too. They would go into the barbarian communities and take away the chief's son and carry the chief's son back to Rome and teach him the Roman language and the Roman practices, and then send him back to the tribe to cause bacchanal. So yes, it has always been how it's done. Wouldn't doubt Russian subs close by. I would doubt. I don't think. Listen, and when we go down this road, I know especially Abdul and them so start to think like it's just me being pro-US. But I think people are delusional in looking at the amount different militaries spend. One branch of the US military spends more and is oftentimes stronger than most of the other militaries in the world. That's why it's not really about which military is stronger in terms of the battle, because that's already an unspoken question. So when would the rest of the world try to put America in its place? When they could. Who in the rest of the world can? Who in the rest of the world can afford to? It's not only military might, it's financial ability too. Oh yes, a lot of people would love if they could, but can they? And would they ever be able to? Like, many people live in a Disney world. Like, they live in a Disney world or a schoolyard world. You all were in school institutions for too long, and you all think there's always a dean or a principal that you could go to, and you know they would sort things out and make sure it's all fair. Listen, all Maduro has to do is drag on a war just like the Taliban did. This is fact. Well, he can do that in terms of them not winning. And that's what we realize over many years, that no matter how strong a military is, you can't really just go and beat a native population out unless you're willing to kill every single person. If you're there just for regime change, that's a very difficult thing. That's risking nuclear war. Nuclear war between who? Nuclear war between who? Like, who is going to do this nuclear war? Who is going to launch the nuke? The Caribbean is speaking to, though, meanwhile, an intergovernmental organization of Latin American and Caribbean nations called ALBA, or the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, has denounced what it describes as renewed aggression by the US against Latin America and the Caribbean. Or if you attack the US or try to put them in their place. Yes. Who's lobbying for this war, Chevron or Shell, or both? At some point, people are going to start to try. The US isn't as great as they prop themselves up to be. Listen, Fred Ladet, people have been trying. People have never stopped trying. China is trying currently. I don't know what you think this is. People tried against the Romans, and the Romans ruled the entire known world for what? Nearly 1,000 years? People tried against the Assyrians, and the Assyrians ruled the known world for hundreds of years. They tried against the Persians, and the Persians ruled the world for hundreds of years. They tried against the Grecians. They tried against the Egyptians. That's the nature of the world. The Romans eventually fell. Yes, eventually. The US is how old? How old is the US? How old is the US? Couple hundred years. 270 something? Is it 270 they reach? Hey, Jack Band dancing. Alright, yeah, 260 something, 70 something. The Roman Empire spanned basically 2,200 years. You could be looking at 2,000 years more easily. And we know this because it happened before. The Roman Empire did eventually fall, but 2,000 years later. The world moves at a way faster pace than in those days of empire. Yes, that is true. I agree. The world does move at a faster pace. But that could work in both directions too. That's not true, boo. That's not true. Because it actually grew in time from the Greeks to the Romans. It actually grew in time from the Assyrians to the Romans. So the time does not get shorter with every fall. That's not actually true. Now, politically, the next US election, I don't think the world would take those leaders seriously. And Abdul, I don't think you should ever support their foreign politics. With good reason. I don't think it's in Grenada's best interest to support Trinidad and Tobago's foreign politics. That wasn't as long-lived. What are you talking about? What are you, Fred Leded, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Yeah, every country's foreign politics, if done correctly, is supposed to selfishly focus on the country. That's what your foreign politics is supposed to do. If you are a politician that is elected by the people of this country and you make policy and you make policies based on that, those policies are supposed to be to the benefit of the people of this country. That's why I actually prefer the more overt style of the current US administration, because yeah, we could clearly see where you're looking to get your selfish benefit. But when you're telling me, oh no, you have no selfish benefit, you're just in this for my good, I don't believe you. I think that your selfish benefit is just hidden. It's why I see someone just shared the live there, Night 17, and he has a picture of Malcolm X, I believe. That's why Malcolm X was so much more leery of the white liberals to the white conservatives, to the white Republicans, as they would be now. Why you support the West or the East? Who said I support one or the other? Trinidad need to find a way to break away from the petrodollar. Well, we could try. Who bit why? I'm not understanding what you're asking, Lampus. Re-ask your question a little clearer. That's why I'll who I support, the West or the East. I live in the West, I support the West. Like, duh. I just made that point about countries. Why would I support where I don't live? That's why and Abdul, if you remember, back in the Dragon Gas days, I was seeing the same thing. It's ridiculous that we have to ask the US for permission to get something that benefits us. It's ridiculous, but it's the reality. And I thought we should do it because we aren't looking, I said this already, it's impossible for well, not impossible, it should be impossible for Trini to be MAGA, to be America first. Like, that doesn't make sense. You think the BRICS nations is a threat to the USD in the future? They are designed to be. But I think the current US administration is going to put a full frontal attack on them that's very likely going to make it a lot more difficult. You could support particular countries for their morals. I don't know any country I could support for their morals. Which country? Which country has good morals? The top destroyer of human life, the #1 killer of humans in the known history of mankind, is something called democide. Democide is the act of a government killing its people. Governments, I believe they're right behind disease, my bad. So they're second, they're not #1. Right behind disease, governments kill the most people. And I'm supposed to support a country for its morals? Is Jesus the president's perchance? Did God himself come down and anoint himself as the supreme leader of this country? Because that's how I'd have to go. That's what would have to happen for me to support that country as a moral bastion. I've come to the conclusion that Trinis think they could handle socialism or communism. Yeah, but it's not just Trinis. A lot of the freed world, a lot of the former colonized world have a very favorable soft spot for communism, socialism, and understandably so, because the countries that were their known oppressors by and large were capitalist countries. So when you get your freedom from those countries, generally you'd look to head in the opposing direction. So a lot of our countries leaned into and played too close with socialism and communism, in my view, and we still do. What's the time to have it all? Whoa, Abdul, whoa. Correct though. What type of government do you think would be best for Trinidad? That's a hard question. That's a hard question. Best for Trinidad. You know, I think our style of parliamentary system wasn't made for a country like Trinidad. Wasn't made for a country like Trinidad. I'd say that. And I don't think it works as intended because of the nature that Trinidad has. I also don't think some type of dictatorship would work in Trinidad. We have two major ethnic, racial groups that have some level of political distrust to each other. Which side is that dictator going to come from? And would the other side allow him to dictate his view over on them? I don't think so. I don't even think it will work for a while. Let's speak plainly. If an Indian Trinidadian becomes dictator and attempts to use his heavy hand of dictatorship to clean up the East-West corridor of violent crime, what's going to happen? And let's be real. Let's be real. If an Afro dictator comes in, a mixed person or a Syrian could do it. Listen, the worst would be for a Syrian to attempt it. If a Syrian were to attempt to become the dictator of Trinidad and Tobago, I think they're attempting self-deletion. That's what they're attempting to do. A Syrian attempting to become Trinidad's dictator, the rhetoric that is pushed against the 1%ers before they are even in that kind of dictatorship rule, much more if they will. And the reality is, I don't even think Douglas would solve that issue, because we live in Trinidad. We know how the reality of that goes. So that, I don't think a dictatorship is the solution for that. I don't think a dictatorship is the solution for that. I think what Trinidad would benefit from is more distribution of power, as in a nearly federal system, as in Tobago House of Assembly, Shoguna's House of Assembly, San Fernando House of Assembly, Arima House of Assembly, that style of something where each district has a lot more self-governance. Redistribute the power from central government. I think that would have a lot more progress in Trinidad. That would have a lot more progress in Trinidad, not the dictatorship. I don't think Trinidad will function well under a dictatorship. I really don't. Not as we are presently constituted. I think you're asking for trouble and chaos. One day is when we really experience democracy here, and still the election can be manipulated, DJ Lawrence says. Yes, you are right, and that's not just here. That's kind of the nature of democracy anywhere democracy happens. Democracy doesn't mean that everybody gets a chance to see what they want to happen all the time, but you get a chance to see what will happen at some point in time. That's the idea of democracy still. Even if it's one day, that one day does have quite a bit of power. Like let's be real, the one day that went, a lot of changes happened because of that. The guy that allegedly self-harmed himself somewhere in South there, he would have a view that the one day of democracy did a big change. Democracy is an oligarchy. Everything is an oligarchy. There's no way we have a ruling class without an oligarchy of some sorts. Do you think lack of fathers has an impact? Oh gosh, that's an obvious question, Lampus. That is the most obvious question, I think. Yes, I think the main problem in most cases for communities for crime-ridden communities is a lack of stable fathers. But yes, everything is an oligarchy. Where is there no oligarchy? Where is there none? What do you think is the reason for the lack of fathers? There are many different reasons that work together to cause that. Exactly, Matthew. Even in socialism, there's always going to be a ruling class. Describe a stable father, please. A stable father, for the most part, is a father that stays and attempts his moral compass to point to good. That's what I would consider a stable father. One that stays and attempts to point his moral compass to good. Because there are some men who, they are okay with being evil and bad. They aim at evil, which isn't going to be a plus. Like you then, I hope so. I hope so. Reasons for the lack of fathers. Government. Socialism offers a more equitable system once not manipulated. I think that is a lie. As in, I don't think it's anybody's business. Yes, it would, Abdul. Yes, it would. I don't think it's anybody's business to determine what is equitable. Here's the problem with that statement, DJ Lawrence. That statement is you walking through the community, looking at my property and deciding that I have extra and I should give some to this guy who has less. And you determine that that's equitable. You're fast and out of place. You're a thief. Socialism is theft. You want what I work for to redistribute it to someone else who would get it more fairly. That is rubbish. And then here's the exo. Even on the part where it sounds good, but it's a lie because it's theft. It's not even a moral thing. It's not a good thing to take something from somebody else and give it to somebody else because you think it would be more fair. The collective is more important than the individual. That is a lie from Hitler. That is not true. The collective is more important than the individual is how you excuse the world of atrocities. Individualism is what has us here. You are right. It is what has us here. Instead of under the boot of some tyrant who tells us we are all working for the good of the collective, so you could die in the mud. It doesn't matter your suffering as long as the nation rises. You must be an idiot. You must be an idiot. And here's the sting in the tail with all of this. They're telling you the collective is more important than the individual. And those at the top get to decide what the collective wants. You understand? So you're telling me that the system is unfair. So how we make it fair? How we make it fair? Akayam, don't come with that no real socialism nonsense. It always goes to all ownership. Don't start with that nonsense. Yeah, so here's how we're going to make the system fair. We're going to take everybody property in the whole country and give it to Auntie Kamala so that she could distribute it. And that will make more sense. And so all the money you make per month, you give it to the government and the government will give you food back just as you need. And because the government really efficient on those things, and the government has worked them things real nice. And imagine that Department of Transport where everybody is take bribe and nothing is run on time and efficient. Imagine that running everything. You know, it's amazing to me. The people with the socialist mindset say that the problem is the politicians in the capitalist system are too crooked. So their solution is to give the politicians maximum power. Everyone is not starting at the same place and there's manipulation. So what? That is life. Some people are taller, some people are stronger, some people are slower, some people are faster. That is life. You cannot get a government to balance that out. That is infantile thinking. No, that, what do you mean, no, that is not life? Everybody born the same height. Everybody grows to the same strength. Everybody gets the same speed. So here's socialism. Socialism is Usain Bolt has to slow down to make sure everyone finishes the race at the same time. And you see, here's the thing with socialism. We are unable to make certain people get any faster. So in order to make it equitable, it's not that we bring everybody up, we just cut everybody down. Capitalism was built on colonialism and slavery. No, it was not. No, it was not. Let's start with 500 years of free labor. What you talking about? You see, y'all jokers think that slavery started with the first African slave ship that came across to the New World. A whole system was built on free labor. Listen, the world ran on free labor since time began. The first thing people did when they saw other people was take them for free labor. Africa, you know Haile Selassie, the emperor, he was running slavery in Ethiopia up till the 20th century. So what you talking about, a whole new system was built and capitalism was built on slave? What nonsense you talking? Ethiopia was a monarchy. Norway is a socialist democracy, whatever that is, what it's working for them. No, the Norwegians have cleared this up very often. They are a capitalist country. They are a capitalist country. They made their money through capitalism, but they are also very homogeneous. So it's much easier to do a wider social safety net. Capitalism was built on opportunity. All capitalism is, you see, this is why I don't like the word capitalism sometimes. I prefer free market. All capitalism is free market. What is a free market? I own my means of production, and I can get whatever I earn from what I produce. I want that. I prefer that. I want to be able to say, all right, I can plant a corn and I can go out there and sell my corn and make money off of this. What the socialists think, there's the illusion of the free market. No, the illusion is it's an illusion when you're lazy. When you're lazy, it becomes elusive. When you're lazy and you're greedy to look at other people's gains, that's when it becomes elusive. You're greedy watching at what other people have. Look, they have more than me. Well, go work for it. Lazy bums. What you want is a government to come in and take it from them and give it to you, your lazy self. No, go and work for it. And you don't deserve to get more unless you work more. That is life. That's why I said it's life. If I plant corn and I go out and I manage my corn and I go and plant plenty fields of corn, I will get more corn. It shouldn't be that if I decide to spend my time and effort planting 5 acres of corn, that the government decides the guy who decided to stay home and twiddle his thumbs now has to come and share up inside of my 5 acres of corn. How you so greedy? Go and work for your own corn. You don't deserve mine. You are greedy. Your eye long. Stop watching other people think. Go and work for your own. That's what a lot of people want, and that is what socialism is. That is what socialism does. It is what it has done every single time they executed it. It is a murderously greedy ideology. And it sounds good to young people because there are many lazy young people who don't have much of anything and they wish they could get it easily. Now, if you want to talk about the difficulties in a free market system, I understand that. The irony is in socialism, the rich actually gets richer. Yes, because the power is actually concentrated more. The power is... The reason socialism doesn't work is because the capitalist masquerading inside of it. Sure. You know, no socialist has ever read Animal Farm. I'm convinced no socialist went to literature class and read Animal Farm. Like, it's just beyond y'all to understand this human nature thing. Y'all haven't read Animal Farm. Exactly, DJ Lawrence. And you somehow are convinced that you could create a system that works opposite to human greed and get humans to run this system. You thinking? You thinking? There's a natural thing called human greed, but you want to design a system that runs on human selflessness. But humans are naturally greedy. But your system is supposed to run on the natural selflessness of humans. Huh? Huh? What? How? And how you suppose that's going to function? You tell, because this is what the socialist leader is. You tell someone you could go there and get the power to say how everything happens in this country. Who you think is going to want that? No, humans are programmed to be greedy. All right, show me where there are humans programmed to not be greedy. Show me those humans. Show me the civilization that has programmed greed out of their humans. Show me that. And you know, the unions are little microcosms of socialists. Do not make people your idols, Zakayam. You'll fall badly. You didn't answer my question, DJ. Show me the civilization, show me the people that have programmed selfishness and greed out of themselves. Show me. Where? Where have they programmed it out? Where are those people located? Show me the people that I could trust to lead this socialist utopia that you're talking about. Nibiru. Listen. I will run my family communist and socialist. Many of those examples, Zakayam, they aren't the saints that you're attempting to make them out to be. I will run my family communist, as in, I could make all the money and I'd still give those in my family as they need. Yes, our government does boo. It does. But then if you tell me that I am supposed to jump into a whole wide country and assume that we are going to run this country like a family, from him according to his ability to him according to his need, I'd say you're a fool. There are societies where the redistribution of national wealth are equally distributed. Which societies are those, DJ Lawrence? Which societies are those? Which societies have an equal distribution of national wealth? We can become the people who make the we. Yeah, famous last words for many socialist countries, Fred Laded. Famous last words. At some point in time, you have to realize if you keep doing this thing and it's ending in millions of people dying, we shouldn't really try it again. No, we will not be the ones who make the we. Well, where they are more equal. No, but we could program out the greed. So where this society is, DJ Lawrence, I'm looking for names. Name the societies that have programmed out this greed. Where is that national wealth so well distributed? And don't come and tell me a society that is 95% the same people, eh? Don't come and tell me a society that is 95% the same people. Where? DJ Lawrence, tell me the name. You keep saying there are. Tell me the name. Show me that you're not just talking nonsense. Singapore, just caca. Go look at the disparities between the Chinese minority in Singapore and read. You say in Singapore, DJ Lawrence? DJ Lawrence, are you saying Singapore is one that equally distributes the national wealth? Is Singapore the one you're calling, DJ Lawrence? And you know, it's kind of more equally. Go look at the wealth of the Chinese minorities. Go look at that wealth. What was the show? Super Rich Asians? What was that, the movie Super Rich Asians? That was based on the super rich Chinese minority in Singapore. Surveillance can actually be an aid to ensure honesty and equitable distribution of resources. Spoken like a true Chinese, Fred Laded, the Chinese say the same thing too. While all of their senior CCP party members have mansions sprawling in San Francisco where they keep their side chicks because they have to put their billions somewhere. And don't worry, they surveil everywhere in China to make sure everyone is honest. Like, how gullible can people be? How gullible can people be? That's capitalism, mass. DJ Lawrence, I feeling to block you. Don't say nothing else until you come with a name of a place. Don't say anything else. And you know what kind of aggravates me? For those of you in the chat taking in the discussion, what kind of aggravates me sometimes with people like DJ Lawrence that he's speaking here, and I'm kind of joking to some extent. I like that you're engaging at the same time. But what is tempts to aggravate me sometimes is that these people in a discussion would have no proof, no evidence. They will be proven wrong. He knows he cannot back up what he is saying, but he is still going to say, but I think socialism will be better, you know, boy. Is it something you all eat or drink or something? Because they still tap in the capitalism system. Okay, DJ Lawrence, show me the place where the people have evolved past their human greed. And while you're waiting on that, tell me people, tell me audience, tell me chat, if it doesn't make sense then, if we cannot find a place where people can elevate above human greed, if human greed seems to be the most base predictable nature of us, if that's what human greed is, wouldn't it make sense to design a system that depends on human greed to function? As in the free market, the idea being everyone seeks their best interests. And when everyone seeks their best interests, the system functions as it should. You attempt to sell your goods and services for your best price. I attempt to buy your goods and services for your best price. And the system runs on that free market. That's not an illusion, DJ Lawrence. That illusion that you're calling it an illusion has brought more people out of poverty in the last 100 years than anything ever recorded in mankind's history. That ability to own the means of your production. You have no idea, because you don't know history. You have no idea how key that little change in how humans dealt with each other was. You have no idea how much that changed, varying from the feudal system, from the serfdom classes, where you didn't own what you had. You couldn't make money off of what you had. But it has also created a super rich. There is it. Thank you, DJ Lawrence. Thank you, DJ Lawrence. This is the problem, chat. This last comment made here by DJ Lawrence, this is the problem. And that's why I say socialism, that socialist tendency, especially for people in wealthy countries like ours. DJ Lawrence isn't a poor struggling man. He is on the internet at 11:44:99. This is a man that is in the global 1%. The problem they have is that they see people richer than them and their eye too long. Their eyes too long. They can't bear that other people have more than them. It's not about people having what they need, because they already have what they need. Just Kaka, if you put yourself on the scale of the 9 billion humans, of the 8 billion humans that currently live, or you put yourself even worse on the scale of the 20 billion or how much ever humans that ever lived, all the humans that ever lived, and you line yourself up in wealth on where you rank, everybody in this chat presently is in the top 0.1%. You all know that, right? That's the thing. Many of these younger people have no understanding of history. They have no understanding of relativity. Let's all start at the same place, not on 500 years of free labor. This talking point is nonsense. Which of the super wealthy that you want to take their wealth started on the 500 years of free labor? Which one of them? That's a major variable that you can't discredit. Listen, Africa, who is surviving now? The Benin, there's a country, Benin. The kingdom of Benin survived on thousands of years of free labor, but they're still poor. So what? We supposed to go to Benin and take the last dregs they have because they had thousands of years of free labor? What? How do we adjudicate this? The Slavic countries in Eastern Europe, all of those blonde hair, blue-eyed people in Eastern Europe there, the name slave comes from Slavic. That's to tell you how many of them were taken into slavery by the Arabians. So are we to go now through modern Arabia and scrape all their oil wealth and send it up the road to the Croats and all of them in Eastern Europe there? Hungary has to go take some reparations from Saudi Arabia? Really? Is that what we're supposed to do? Tell me, let me know. The Bushmen down in Southern Africa, are they supposed to attempt to get reparations from the Bantu who enslaved them and oppressed them for centuries? How are we adjudicating this? Or is it only the people that you find have things that you like, so you want it, and your eye long? And it's not God who, in socialism, it's not God who redistributes the wealth, you know. In a socialist system, it's not God who redistributes the wealth. God himself doesn't come down and collect the taxes and decide who gets it. Those are people, human beings, politicians. You think a politician is going to spend your money better than you? The question I regularly ask with this, and I'll ask it as we get into the closing point here. The question I regularly ask with this: do you think if you make $1,000 in a day, that if you give that $1,000 to Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her government, they would spend it better than if you kept it yourself? If you make $1,000 tomorrow, do you think it would be better spent if you take it and spend it yourself on things that you know you need and want? Or if you donated it to Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her government, and they spent it on your behalf on what you need? They are capitalists, all of them. I see. So a socialist is someone, is like a religious person. They've been born again and baptized in kindness and selflessness. So they have purged out their greed. They're no longer capitalists. And if we can find one of those born again socialists, they are the ones to lead the socialist utopia. That's what you're saying. Okay. Sure, DJ Lawrence. Are you a socialist or a capitalist? DJ Lawrence, do you think you'd be able to redistribute the wealth of the country ideally for everyone? Are you a socialist or a capitalist? DJ Lawrence, I'm talking about you. Do you do DJing as in hired jobs? Because if you're a socialist, you're supposed to go from him according to his ability to him according to his need. Oh, so if you're a socialist and I need a DJ and you have the ability to DJ, you're supposed to just give me that DJing service, aren't you? Nathan, what secret did the Saudis and Emiratis discover that Trinidad did not with oil and gas? Single leadership, long-term vision, monarchy. How beneficial is identity politics? According to what you're looking at for benefit, I suppose. I don't know why you and DJ Sona, he who knows not and knows not that he knows not. Yes, but what do I get in return? Spoken like a true capitalist, DJ Lawrence. Hey! Well, hi to my two cousins. Spoken like a true capitalist. How a socialist is looking for something in return. So wait, You want to get something for your service? You old dirty capitalist, you. You old dirty capitalist. Alright, people. AP, so Eric Williams is the fault? It's because of Eric? I don't think so. It's monolithic, it's one religion, and it's one leader, one family leading over a long period of time. They can have planning over decades. We couldn't even execute our Vision 2020 because so many governments changed in the intervening time. Alright, people, I have to go. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained. This was the Mindful Live Show. I am Nathan Springer. Thank you for tuning in. We live in a world of extreme greed and little or no care of others. We have always lived in that world. And the lie that people tell you and tell themselves and tell others is that somehow this group isn't that greedy. They are not that greedy. They aren't that greedy. These aren't the greedy people. And they say that so that they can take what you have. They are lying. The group that tries to convince you, no, we aren't really the greedy group. We are all magnanimous and selfless. Many of them, if they say so, are lying. Let's be real. Don't take that mama guy. Don't take that buy-in. They are lying. Socialism is theft. Never work, never once. Not once. Not a good socialist country ever. Anyway, because it doesn't. Action speaks louder than words. Alright, I'm out, people. Hold it down. Stay well, stay good, stay inside. Outside sketchy. Go and marry somebody good child and make some babies. We below replacement rate. The world need to go on with people. So, make some babies out there. Train them good. Make some good little young Trinis. So, all you see.